Hey guys, it's Misty. So today we are going to be learning how to make this cute little beanie that goes with our cardigan that we did earlier in the week. So earlier we had done this cardigan, the Suzy Q cardigan, and we had made a larger size in the pink. Okay, and so today we are going to do a little hat to go with our pink one, to match just like we have with our yellow one here. So we are going to get started on that. Again, we are using the, I'm still on the same cake as I was when we started the cardigan, so there's quite a bit in there. We're using the Sugar Wheel Cotton Solids. This is Pink Canyon. These cakes come in 335 yards. They're 100% cotton, and we are using a 4.5 millimeter crochet hook. That's what it calls for. And this pattern is so simple. We're going to again be using the Suzette stitch, just like with the little cardigan here. And I'm going to show you how to size up and then start creating that stitch in the round. So let's, without further ado, alright, so let's get started on our little beanie here. And to do that, we are going to start with a magic circle. And if you need help with that, I'll link that below as usual. And from here, we are going to chain 2. This chain 2 is not a stitch. And we are then going to put 12 double crochets into our magic circle. So yarn over and just put 12. There's 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 11, and 12. All right, now we're going to grab the end of our tail here and cinch it up. As usual, if you need any help with a double crochet or a magic circle or any of the stitches that I use here that I have videos on, I'll link those below for you. Now, I want you to notice one thing, why I do the chain 2. Anytime you're working in the round, and this is just my personal thing, I mean, a lot of times you will chain 3 and that'll be considered your stitch. I like to do the chain 2 if I'm working on a double, a chain 1 if I'm working on a single. When I'm working in the round, I like to do those chain up stitches that don't count as a countable stitch, because a lot of times when you're working in the round, you'll be able to tell your join. And doing this chain 2 right there, see that this little fat spot right there below that stitch, that is that chain 2. That's what we're going to use to kind of close that gap, so that it helps to camouflage our join. So our first stitch is right there above that chain 2, and having that sort of bulk down below it kind of helps hide where your join is. So go right into that first stitch right there and slip stitch. Now, if you'll stretch your work out, you can see that even if you're pulling it apart, that really helps to hide that join and just makes it look kind of perfect. See that? All right, so next we are going to be doing an increase round, and I'm trying to get my yarn put around my little yarn bowl here because it is just everywhere right now. Okay, so we are going to do an increase round now, and we started out with 12, and our second round is going to be double. So we're going to end this round with 24 stitches. So to do that, we're going to put 2 double crochets in every stitch of the round, and we're going to start with a chain of 2, that's not our stitch, and into this right there, into that very first space where we've got our chain 2, we are going to go in with our first double crochet and our second double crochet. So we've got 2 double crochets in that first stitch. And now we're going to put 2 double crochets in the next. One thing I like to do when I'm doing this second round, just sort of helps me stay on track, is I just count by 2. So I did 2 stitches here and 2 here, so that makes 4. So I'll say I'm going into this one with stitch number 5 and 6. Next is 7 and 8. And 22, and then there's our last stitch. It's going to get 23 and 24. So now we know our count is right, and we don't have to go back and check it. So now let's get in here and close up the round. As you can see right there is our chain 2, and our stitch, our first real stitch, is up above there. So we're going to go right into there and join our work. And again, that join is hidden really nicely by having that extra chain 2 in there. See that? All right, so chain 2 again. We are going to be on another increase round. And this round is going to be a double crochet and an increase double crochet. So we're going to have 1 double crochet and then 2. So I'm going to go in there with a double crochet, just 1. I'm always going to start my increases on the second stitch. So I'm going to go in there and make that my increase stitch. So from here on out, around this third round, it's going to be 1 double crochet in the next stitch and 2 double crochets in the next stitch. So every other stitch is going to get 2 double crochets. You would have ended this round with 36 double crochet. Okay, I'm going to chain 1 for my Suzette stitch, and we are going to start. We're done with increases at this point, and we are going to do our Suzette stitch, and that includes, we've got a chain 1, not counted as a stitch. We're going to go right into this first one, and we're going to do a single crochet and a double crochet. We're going to skip the next stitch and go into the next one with our single and our double. This is the exact same stitch that we did for the sweater. If you weren't here for the sweater, I will link that below if you'd like to go and see that pattern. And we will continue around doing this stitch if you've never done it before, to kind of help you get the hang of it. So we'll skip a stitch here, go into the next with a single crochet and a double, all in the same stitch. Okay, skip 1, go into the next with a single and a double. Skip 1, go into the next with a single. I almost did a double, didn't I? And then a double. Skip 1, go into the next with a single and then a double. Skip 1, go into the next with a single and a double, skip one, go into the next with a single and a double, skip one, go into the next, single and a double, skip and go into the next. My black lab is snoring and dreaming. I swear she's making like horse sounds over there. It's crazy. I think she's... Aren't dogs so funny when they're dreaming? Alright, we're skipping that one. We're going into the next with a single or a double, not or, and skipping a single and a double in the next, skipping that one, going into this one with a single and a double, skipping the next one, going into that one with a single and a double. Okay, now our next one is a skipped stitch. Okay, so we are going to go, if I lay this down here and you look at this from a side view, you can see that right here, I hate not having my nails. It's really, I don't like it. Okay, so if you're looking at it from the side, you can see right here is a little short stitch and right here is a taller stitch. You see that? You've got a taller one right there, and then coming down you've got a little one right there, and right here is your chain one. We're ignoring that. Right here is our single crochet, and right here is the stitch of our double crochet. We're going to join this right here in the top of our single. Okay, so we're going to skip this stitch right here and we're going to go right in the top of that single crochet, that very first one that we did, and we're going to slip stitch to join. All right, now to do the Suzette stitch we really need the back and forth pattern, and yet to do our beanie we're going in the round. Okay, and so to correct that, what we're going to do is really easy. We're going to chain one, and we're going to turn our work just like we were working anything else. Okay, so we're going to work the next row on the back side of our hat. We're on the wrong side, you can tell. Right here is our string from our center pull, right? And also, we've got right here in front of us is the double crochet that we just made a little while ago before the skip. You see that? We are going to go right here into our same stitch. Okay, this is a little bit tight here. So we've made our chain one, and we are right here in the back side of this stitch. It's kind of, we're kind of in the join there. Do you see? Here's the stitch that we would be ordinarily going into right there behind us, but we are going to put our stitch right here in the join in front of us. Okay, so we're going to go right into here. It is tight. Just shove it right in there. Maybe easier said than done. Okay, and grab a hold of your yarn, right? Bring it out for a single crochet. Yarn over, and right here, see, we've opened that up a little bit. We're going to go right here and put a double. Now we are on target to skip this double in front of us. And we're going to go right over here and go right into that single, okay, with our single and a double. Okay, we're going to skip this, that double in front of us, and we're going to go into the next one, the short one, a single and a double. Okay, skipping that double, going into the short stitch right there where that single is, with a single and a double. And we're going to continue to do this all the way around, and I'm going to meet you back before we join. So we are here at the join. All right, we're right in front of this last stitch. Okay, so if you'll remember, when we started this row, we went into the back end of this stitch. Instead of coming across the front of it, we went into the back end of it because we were going around the other way, right? So here's one thing to be careful of. Right here is our next single. We don't want to be adding a stitch to our work. We want to keep our stitches even and consistent, right? We don't want to be putting anything extra because then that's going to change the size of our hat. So when we make those turns, the one thing to be careful of, when we go, we don't have another stitch to put here. We're not going to skip this double and go into that single at the first. We've already made that. We made it on the back side of it, okay? So now we're going to be skipping right over that and going right here. We're going to be going right here into that first single crochet we made. So this is our skip stitch. We're going right over top of this single and going into this one up here, okay? So we're going right over that stitch, and we are going to slip stitch to join right there, okay? Now, for our next row, it's going to be just much of the same. We're going to chain 1. Turn our work. Now we are on the right side or the outside of our hat. We've got our chain 1 here, and again we are going to be going into right here where we joined. If we were still going around, we would be working into this stitch that's behind us, right? But we turned our work, so we're going to kind of fake this going into this stitch. We're going to go in behind it on our join. So again, we are going to go right there into that little joiner space, and it is tight, and we're going to pull up our loop. Now the reason I like to do this is because we could just skip this whole stitch and come over, right, and just go along the same stitches. The reason I like to put it in that little joiner is because, again, it gives us this sort of toggle back and forth in our join that sort of redirects the eye here and there, right? Because we're not normally going into that joiner stitch. So it sort of is toggling our join back and forth, and it's hiding our join a little bit better. And make your single crochet right there in that join, and then yarn over and go in with your double. And that is always going to be our first stitch of the round. When we turn, we're going to go right into the back end of our first stitch and start like that was our beginning after all. Now we're going to skip the next one, go into the next with the same thing, a single crochet and a double crochet. Skipping the next, going into this shorter stitch with a single crochet and a double crochet. Skipping the next, going into this little shorter one with a single crochet and a double crochet. So we are going to keep right on going along, and I will meet you back before the join. Okay, so here we are right before the join, and as you can see, we've got what was our last stitch of the first round. We're going to go right over this double, and we're going to go right up here into the first single crochet that we made in this round. Okay, we're going to skip right over that whole stitch. We're going to slip stitch those together. Just using that technique, just take a look here at that joint. I mean, it's kind of non-existent, and that's what I'm going for. There is nothing more rewarding than when somebody's looking at your hat and can't find a seam. I really love that. So, chain 1 and turn. Now, we're back to that same thing, okay? So, this was the stitch we just came out of, all right? Here is our little joiner stitch. Now, if that joiner, here's another thing, if that joiner stitch right there is too hard for you to get into, you can just sort of lean back and go into this single crochet right here. You see that? I'm going into the joiner stitch just because it's what's right in front of me, but there's nothing to stop you from leaning back and going back into that single. Just like that, okay? So that's another way you can do this. But I'm going to go back into this little joiner stitch here because I like the way that looks. And I am going to put my single crochet right there. And my double crochet. Okay. And then I'm going to skip this one and go down into this one. And we are just literally, this is what it's going to be, okay, until we get to the end. So we are going to do this for 11 total rows, okay? So we have done 2 rows. We're working now on our 3rd row. So you've got 9 more rows of the Suzette stitch to go to make it to the end of your beanie. And I'm going to meet you back. And we're going to take a look at our hat, and we're going to work on our little scalloped edge. All right. All right, so here we are with our hat finished up except for our trim. And I believe I got 11 rows in there. This Suzette stitch gets kind of cluttered up, hard to tell. But here's what our measurements need to be, okay? So we know that we were going for that 11-inch circumference at the top, and so we really want our sides to be under 6 basically, okay? So I'm running around about 5.5 down here on the very end. I'm about 6 where it's stretched out a little bit, but so this is good. So we're looking here at just a little over 5.5, which is going to be right where we want to be. And on the height, anywhere from 4.5 to 5 is just fine, and we are almost at that 5 mark. And I'm going to say that our little scalloped edge is going to take us all the way there to 5 inches. So, yeah, those are the measurements that you're looking for. If the baby that you're making the beanie for is a little bit smaller, preemie or so. If I was making for a preemie size, I would definitely want to be within, say, that 4.5 width, and probably I would be wanting to come in between 4 and 4.5 in the length as well, probably closer to the 4 mark. So let me show you how we're going to put the border on here. If you've done the little sweater, I'm sure you already know, you've already done this, but it's just that basic little scalloped edge. So we are right here, and this is going to be so easy for us because we're going to be skipping every one of our little double crochets. That tall stitch to make our scallop, we're going to be skipping every one of those just like we've done the entire time. So from right here, we're going to chain 3. Okay, I didn't even chain. We're just going to go straight into our scallop stitch. We're not going to worry about chaining up for anything. So we're chaining 3, and we are going to skip this double, and we're going to go right into this lower single and slip stitch. Okay, and do it again. Chain 3, skip and slip stitch. Chain 3, skip the next stitch and slip stitch. Chain 3, skip the next, slip stitch into the next. Chain 3, slip stitch, chain 3, skip 1, slip stitch. This is our last one, chain 3. And right here, where we did our first chain 3, we're just going to slip stitch right into the bottom of that first chain, or right into the bottom of that single crochet below the chain, and slip stitch. And that is going to be that. Alright, now make a really tight slip stitch, tighten down. Fasten off. And that, my friends, is going to be that. So I still have to weave in my ends here, but there we are. Our little Suzy Q beanie to go with our sweater. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them down below. If you would like and subscribe, I'd surely appreciate it. Share if you can. And you guys, go out and do something you love today. And don't forget to take care of yourself. Until next time, bye-bye.